Malamira Striparan Takare, Banushashi Bhumisuto, Buddhasha Gurusha Shukra, Shani Rahu Keteva, Sarve Graha Shantikara Bhavantu, Om Gam Ganapatiye Namaha, Om Gam Ganapatiye Namaha, Om Gam Ganapatiye Namaha, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Hrim Mangalayana, Om Hrim Ketave Yanamaha. Greetings and welcome to another episode of the KozmicKev100, your weekly astro video zine. I'm KozmicKev, your host. I encourage you to subscribe, hit the bell notification, like, share it with a friend. I love your comments. Friends, keep it coming. I'm welcoming all you new subscribers here. It's so nice to have you here in our astrological family of students learning about this, and those of you who already know something about this. Because really it takes lifetimes of learning in this sense, and observing the skies. I'd say for anyone who wants to be a good astrologer, if you're ready to sit with the planets for 29 years, you'll be at a really good starting place. Now, I know there's some young astrologers who've only been really studying it for 7 or 8 years, and they're still doing pretty good, and there's novices that accelerate really quick in a couple of years and go do their thing. But reading other people's charts, sitting with the planet, seeing what's happening with other people, and having a lot of different situations come up over and over again, that's where the rubber hits the road. That's where you're going to really get this down. And it's really important to know this one fact. It's pretty well known among astrologers, whether you're a Jyotishi doing Vedic sidereal astrology or you're just tropical astrologer. It's rising sign and moon are everything, folks. Probably they hold more weight. Certainly together they hold more weight than your sun sign. And so sun sign's where we begin. That's where we usually learn about this stuff. Sun is about soul purpose, but there's probably about 30 different personality types to every single sun sign. And the rising sign has more to do with your personality. The moon sign has more to do with how your mind works and what your emotional and intuitive setup. Now this is for the week of April 14th through the 20th. This is a really transformational week because we have a solar eclipse this week, and solar eclipses are much more significant and much more powerful than a lunar eclipse. Now I'll get into this. We'll just talk a little bit about where we are right now, okay? So looking at the sky today, I would find the moon in the constellation of Capricorn, in the tropical zodiac sign of Aquarius. But if you're looking to find it in the sky, you're going to have to look in Capricorn to find it. Now the lunar mansion associated with this part of the sky, it's actually half Capricorn, half Aquarius. It's known as Dynista. Dynista is ruled by Mars. Dynista's ruling deities are the 8 Vasus. And Dynista helps us with leadership. Dynista helps us apply practicalities, and Dynista is also related to Shiva in some ways, and Dynista has a quality about it where music, it's like the drum of Shiva is a symbol, or the flute of Krishna. So people sometimes have really good musical ability with Dynista. I mean, it's not strictly that, but it's one of the areas of the sky that brings good musical ability. So it's also one where I think it can cause marital strife in some ways. And so this is a Venus day, this is a day of relationships. If you've had like a little bit of an argument with a loved one, try not to take it that personally. Try and soak things up. Tomorrow the moon will move out of Dynista. By late afternoon it's going to be in Shadabishak. It's going to be near Saturn. Just dealing with hardship as they come. Here's the other thing, is that the sun today moves out of sidereal Pisces, moved out of sidereal Pisces, maybe it happened yesterday, and now it is in sidereal Aries. So the sun's actually in Aries in both systems right now, so it's really Aries. And finally here in Northern California we're getting a little bit of heat, getting a little bit of warmth after probably one of the coldest winters since the early 80s. Yeah. And so it's been a while. It's been a long time. Maybe even the late 80s, I don't know. But it's been a good 29 years or more. It's been a long time since we've seen this much snow in California. It's been a long time since we've had, this much water to deal with. And we're really using money versus the natural parameters of what's given to us by nature as a priority. It's kind of messed us up as a planet and a system. One of the reasons why I'm into astrology is because it's based on honoring natural cycles. In tropical astrology, which most of the show is, it's based on seasons. It's not based on where the planets actually are. If you want that, you go to sidereal astrology or you go to Vedic astrology. It's much closer in those systems. And in a lot of ways, when I do readings for people, that's how I do it. If you do want a personal reading from me, you can always put in the comments there on YouTube, or if it's posted on Facebook, let me know. I'd be happy to facilitate that for you, so we could get this going, find out. You have to know what time you're born, though. If you don't know what time you're born, it becomes a lot more difficult to do this type of thing, because everything's based on what was rising on the eastern horizon at the time you were born. Hence, back to where we were beginning. Okay, so getting to, we know now we've got a sun in Aries, and we've got the North Node in Aries, and we've got the sun moving into Taurus on Thursday the 20th, early in the morning, like 1:13, something like that in the morning. And so that's going to be huge. And so 1:14 a.m. We have a new moon this week on Wednesday here Pacific Daylight Time. That's at 9:13 p.m. It is only 17 minutes before the sun goes into Taurus in Western astrology. So it's in Aries in both systems. And I just sense, and I'm asking the divine that may this be so, is that because this new moon, sun are going to be in a lunar mansion known as Ashvini. Ashvini is the celestial healers. It is the first part of Aries in the constellation of Aries. This is huge, folks. The Ashvini Kumaras are celestial healers. They come in healing. Ashvini is ruled by Ketu, which is the south node of the moon, which holds all our karma, all our past life secrets, our subconscious. Even now, science has shown that we have ancestral memory that goes back 14 generations. I mean, if you're Irish, 14 generations is going to take you back to like Oliver Cromwell and this, who is known as the Adolf Hitler of Ireland, who was killing indigenous Irish people, basically. Mostly Catholics, pagans, whoever wasn't going under the submission of the Queen of England was getting off and was getting their property taken away from them. It's heavy, man. It's heavy. And that campaign lasted largely through the 1700s and 1800s. In fact, in 1800, Ireland had 9 million people. In 1900, it had only 1 million people. But that's not the all. I mean, there's other places that were colonized. A lot of the Middle Eastern countries and the Ottoman Empire, places like Lebanon, Iran, Iraq, parts of Jordan, Turkey, Israel, Palestine, Egypt, parts of Africa. And with this kind of conquest was ancestral trauma. Mexico. all of us, back in the colonial masters, if you're Native American, if you're Tibetan, all of us have had these invasions and this type of trauma. And so K2 rules that. K2 also has the information that will heal us, though. Both the Mula Nakshatra and Ashvini deal specifically with healing. And Maga, the other K2 Nakshatra, deals with our royalty and how our ancestors have our back. And so we have things given to us that are really working, but we have to activate them. And I would highly recommend Wednesday night, Thursday morning, doing a new moon ritual as to what you want to see happen, what you need healed in your life happen during this moon. This is where astrology gets to be powerful, folks. This is where we get this. This is the ultimate new start. And yeah, I mean, in Western astrology we're going into Taurus, but we can look at Taurus as where we're satisfied, how our needs are being met, what brings us satisfaction. And the Ashvini Kumaras are swift healers, and they're able to cure very difficult diseases. Very difficult diseases often originate in Shadabishak. Back in 2020, and that new moon was in Shadabishak in February, and that's when they said, oh, COVID's everywhere. But at the same time, it wasn't as bad as like chickenpox, mumps, and measles, and I think there was an overreaction, especially when you have 33 million businesses being destroyed completely and nobody reacting, and one unfortunate derelict individual who had a bad incident with the cops, that's what got everybody out on the streets. It's sad, it really is extremely sad, because we are so influenced by artificial intelligence, and I mean, you're watching this now probably on a computer, phone, or something, and so I get this, we're gifted with this stuff, but this stuff is really dangerous. And there's the white magic and there's the black magic, and a lot of this stuff is really dark, and we really want to stay in the light, and that's why we're welcoming the light, we're coming into the light, folks. Aries is where the sun gets exalted, so good things are happening right now. And with that said, Aries, welcome your horoscope. What is an eclipse? Now, if you're in Aries and you're born like the 18th, 19th of April, you are going to feel this so strong. See, Rahu and Ketu are really just elliptic points, but when the moon and the sun align with them, that's when we have eclipses. And it's almost like a season change. It's beyond, it's a magical portal for things to happen. So we don't recommend going outside. We recommend staying mostly indoors and meditating and praying and putting out your intention of where you want things to go. So that's what you need to do Wednesday night. Just keep it on the chill vibe, because this is an ultimate renewal for you. Now, in the Western Zodiac, this is also like the closing end of your season. The Aries season ends this week. It basically ends on Thursday morning, and or it ends Wednesday night, and depending on what your time zone is. So I think it's Wednesday night Central, Mountain, and Pacific time in the States. So that's good to think about. Where do you need healing? Where do other people need healing? How are you going to help bring that healing quickly to them? We're going to make our karma good now, folks. We don't know what we're doing, but we have to rely on intuition. That's what K2 is about, our spirituality. It's about our intuition as well as past life trauma, and actually can bring some very good results. Because sometimes there's a wealth of good that can come out too. And we want to move towards the good, move towards the light, move forward, and just finish off your season good. And I say, do that new moon ritual. Greetings, Taurus. Welcome to your horoscope. Well, since most of you Taurus are sidereal Aries, this is huge for you, especially if you're born on the 20th, 21st, 22nd, 23rd, this is, this is a big new start for you. New direction is coming your way, and I want you to be able to move forward in the most graceful, positive way forward. And so, taking that all into account. And I know, it's not with ego or anything like that. It's just little things, little things of knowledge. Where is this coming from? Where is this change coming from? And so for most of you, any of you born the 13th or before are, sidereal Aries. Taurus is sidereal Aries. And so Mars in Cancer. Well, it looks not that great because it's debilitated, but it's in the 3rd house. That's an activator house. And as well as being in an activator house, it's in Gemini in that sense, but it's in Cancer. And what I'm sensing is that make relationships right with your neighbors. Do things to help heal the environment. Do things to get along better with your siblings, especially if you have brothers. Get over conflict and resolve things. To live in unforgiveness is so tragic. And everyone's got an idea of what's the right thing to do. I would say using weed killers that have glyphosates, I will say, from what I know about science, that's the wrong thing to do because it has long-term negative consequences. So don't do that. Don't hurt the earth. Make yourself a little mixture of Dr. Bronner's soap and some vinegar and maybe some things like baking soda or something like that, and you can kill weeds with that, and it won't be nearly as toxic or bad. All right. So Venus is in Gemini, and Venus in Gemini, 2nd house. We talked about this last week. It's about luxury. It's about eating sweets. Sweets kind of acidify your gut. They raise your glucose levels, and glucose is like stored energy, and when energy gets stored it turns into body fat. And so you see somebody who's really fat, they got a lot of energy. They've got a lot of energy stored. They might not be utilizing that energy properly, but there's all this stored energy, and the only way you're able to do that is you stop eating sugar and carbohydrates and stop eating as much. And you got to be patient with yourself, but start eating more protein and fat, and eventually that the weight peels off, your energy level stabilizes, and you start looking better, feeling better, sleeping better, breathing better. Everything gets better, and so that's part of it. Now, Taurus, the dark days are over. That 12th house thing, by the end of this week, all this kind of gloom and things falling apart, it's going to go away. It's already starting to kind of crystallize and flesh out. So good things are coming your way. That's my affirmation. Every day, every way, things are getting better and better. And Venus and Taurus is kind of, Venus and Gemini, or sidereal Taurus, it's also kind of like Venus and Taurus too, because it's in your 2nd house for Tauruses. So it's sensual, and you're going to be able to do some good things. Let's go to Gemini. Let's see now, greetings Gemini, welcome to your horoscope. Now, things were pretty good in that it was like social life time in Aries, and it still is some of that, but we're moving into this 12th house period now, which means, number one, pay attention to your spiritual life. What's your relationship with the divine? What's your relationship with the essence of what creates matter? And do you believe in a divine, intelligent creation? Do you believe in your ancestors? Do you believe in some kind of continuity of energy that has allowed you some kind of grace to be in this life at this period of time. It'd be a good time to adopt something like that and at least honor it, at least from the ancestral sense, especially with the sun and the new moon over in Ashvini now. We're in this fresh start this week. It really, I mean, even before the new moon, there's some, there's this crystallization of everything from last year is just breaking up right now. We've got this grand opportunity with this eclipse to move forward in a new way that's completely positive. And for you, I would say take the next 4.5 weeks beginning with Thursday and, just fast, pray, get rid of everything you don't need, and ask the Creator to help you have good life purpose and make a good, clean, forward new start. You've got Venus here in your first house right now. Venus is a guru. Venus is a teacher. Venus is in the sidereal Taurus, so, I mean, it's acting really strong right now, so there's a lot of help to that. And Venus is really about compassion. It's related to Vishnu. It's related to preservation, to preserve what's good. And we want that for you right now. And so we'll want that to be activated. Now there's another thing that's happening. I think it happens more next week. It's going to happen next Friday, is that Mercury's going to go retrograde. So early Friday morning next week. And so having that knowledge, it's like, this is not the time to buy new technology or get yourself involved in anything until Mercury goes direct. So just, this is, for Gemini, I got one word for you: chillax. Okay, greetings Cancer, welcome to your horoscope. The moon's exalted in Taurus, so later on this week, sun moving into Taurus, this is a good thing. Moon's sun's still in Aries, and the eclipse happens in Aries, and this is your career house. And so, and what really the 10th house is your karma with the public. How do you bring your talents and skills in a way that is helping other people? I think one of my evolutionary astrologer teachers said that this is where you get some gifts from your mother's side of the family. I'm not always sure what those are, but you've got them. Use them. Utilize those right now as you're moving forward with your life. End of the week, sun goes into Taurus. That's where the moon gets exalted. So in a lot of ways, I think you'll be feeling good. Sun and moon are going to move into your 11th house. This will help you financially. Although, there's some tricky stuff there, with Uranus and the North Node and everything. This eclipse, though, can affect your relationships. In fact, it could help you meet better people and put you in a better social circle. It could even help improve a relationship with an older sibling or an old colleague. So I'm looking for the healing. I'm looking for this whole Ashvini. Let's get this swift healing. Let's get all together. It's so encouraging when I see other artists that have, brought commentaries on restrictions and mandates and all these things and said, look, we need to respect each other no matter what we decide. Let's be free people. It's like, that's so encouraging. There's so many people that have this love that extends beyond fear. Yeah, and we got to get, because perfect love casts out all fear. So if you're afraid, you're not going to be effective. It's okay to use caution. I'm not saying don't wear a safety belt, but do your safety belt out of love to preserve rather than out of fear. And look, everything's up here. It's like you're in the public a lot right now, and so this is no time to hide in your shell. Bring out the best of Cancer this week as you're getting stronger every day. Hello, Leo, and welcome to your horoscope. Now, talked a lot about relationship, and this weekend is no exception. At least Friday and most of Saturday till late Saturday afternoon. It's like, be a better negotiator, be a better diplomat. This is no time to play the Leo my way or the highway game. Oh, who, me? I'm never. Come on But seriously, folks, it's really hard to see yourself in that kind of position. You know, we do say that the sun rules the ego, and we all have one, and it's necessary in a lot of ways to help guide us, and to, in a lot of ways, it helps us avoid pitfalls. You know, it keeps us combing our hair and brushing our teeth and doing good things like that. It's not all bad. You know, it's not all bad stuff. Wearing nice clothes. You know, I mean, making nice presentation. The thing is that we're all vulnerable to making mistakes, and we have, and you know, all your mistakes are forgiven. I mean, today's a fresh day, and once you wake up Thursday morning, it's going to be a new moon, everything's fresh, and you can just make things better on this whole context of healing and living, and I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to this wonderful freshness. We could all use a reset. Last new moon I fasted for a few days because I wanted to finish off that winter cycle and break into spring with just this like, I want to do better. You know, I can do without in order to have room for better life, to have room for improvements. And so for Leo, I mean, you're also, like I said last week, integrating with the public a lot. Sun's exalted in Aries. This is a great time for you. Jupiter's there with it. In a lot of ways, it's just there's a lot of upliftment. And I know you've had some troubles right now, but help is there. Ask other people for help. Help is on its way. Now the Mars in the 12th house, I mean, that's secret enemies sometimes, and so not everybody has your back. And I think a lot of times when we don't apologize and we let pride get in our way, you set yourself up to have people resenting you and mistrusting you. So you might have to do a little bit of going back and saying, look, I know, you know, like a 12-step program, I've wronged you before, and I've got to do something to make this right. I like it. Yep. Okay, greetings Virgo, welcome to your horoscope. Well, I mean, that 8th house transit, you know, that was tough, and it's still there. But, you know, better things are happening now. And there's this cosmic relief coming. And you're thinking better. You're thinking a little more clearly. Now, I know next weekend we're going to have Mercury retrograde. Well, that usually takes about 3.5 weeks of, you know, a little bit of confusion, a little bit of frustration, misconnections. But it's also a time where Mercury's actually closer. Anytime a planet's retrograde, folks, it's closer to the Earth. So the Mercury's message is, sit still, listen twice, that's why you have 2 ears and 1 mouth, and just receive and work on what's in front of you. Don't take on anything new over the next 5 weeks. You know, that's basically what I'm going to say today. It's just like, because we're already in the shadow period of Mercury retrograde, and it's just like, let's just sort of wait. You know, let's not work on too much. Now, Venus in the 10th house is like a career. You're showing some beauty. You're actually showing some talent, some skills, some stuff that's beyond the ordinary. And it's going to be really good for you. This new moon is cusping on your 9th house, which is like higher education, good fortune, luckiest house in the zodiac. You might have taken a licking, and things may have seemed pretty rough last week, and even going into this week, you're kind of just like bracing yourself. Oh God, please, please, please don't help me. I would like to think that good things are going to happen, and that things are going to get better for you right now, because you're out of the dark, you're coming into the light, and over the next 3 months, this is where your karma meets the public and other people, and this is really where you start to shine, Virgo. And so shine on, my friend, and Realize that you are a wealth of knowledge and a wealth of positive service that helps other people heal and get better. Hello Libra, welcome to your horoscope. So Aries is your 7th house, relationships, work, marriage, romance, that's sunset, and it's also this kind of beginning point of where we're engaging more with the public and what they need. Now Venus moving over into the 9th house, taking on spiritual knowledge, going to an ashram, taking a vacation, being out in the wilderness, allowing for some kind of spiritual renewal. This time of year, if you're in the West Coast, the desert and the ocean are kind of the best places to be. There's still a lot of snow in the mountains and it's a little colder, but out in the drier areas and stuff, there's just so much beauty, and especially here in California where we had an exquisitely, deliciously wet, cold winter, things are just coming alive, And here it is, with this new moon in Ashvini this week, we're going to just see this life come back, this healing come back, and this will to help each other. Ashvini Kamaras, they're twins, they're celestial healers, and they're bringing on that life brings healing. When a newborn baby's born and it's born healthy, it's just like it gives us so much hope. It gives us this feeling of life. And I think just respecting others, but also claiming for yourself, I need to move forward. And over this next month, Libra, this is when you really are going to need help from other people. Humble yourself, take that help, work with it, be very reasonable about purchases because of this Mercury retrograde that's going to happen next week. And you'll be fine. All right, so greetings Scorpio, and welcome to your horoscope. What do we got going on here? Well, Aries is a lot of work, okay? It's the 6th house for you, so it's it's making you work harder. It's making you get organized. Maybe you're taking care of small pets. There's certain things that need your attention that are coming into the foray here, and you're working with those, and overall you're working with those things in a good way. So that is the positive, and of course we want more positive. More positive, less negative. And it is like we're on that positive cycle. In fact, we have more light than darkness because light is so powerful, it gets rid of darkness. We're on this light cycle now. And this light cycle and the sun moving into your 7th house this week, it's going to make you, Scorpio, a lover. And after this new moon, the next full moon, I always call that full moon, it's like the Kundalini Express because it's, Scorpio moon, Taurus sun, the most sexual with the most sensual, the most transcendental with the most materialistic. There's just this whole moving of life force with earth and water in the Western zodiac. And even with masculine and feminine principles in the Vedic zodiac, even though it's probably slightly more masculine with air and fire in that upcoming full moon, after this new moon. Right now, what's going on? Well, there is this transformation that can actually help heal you. Any last residuals of something you wanted to heal, you're going to get stronger, you're going to get better, you're going to get healthier, you're going to be wiser, you're going to be more full of goodness and wisdom, so you can move forward in every way. And your relationships are going to get better. Venus is in Gemini right now. It's the 8th house, so it's like, how deep is your love? Do you love deeply? Do you love really strong? Can you love other people's success? Because that's like sometimes a spouse's money, a spouse's love, and it's just like, you know, being happy for other people. It really helps, you know, and whoever you're associated with, whoever's associated with you, they're going to help bring on more happiness to you. That happiness is coming. You're not that far away. I see everything coming together better for you, Scorpio. You know, Mars in Cancer, like I said, it's not the best because it's debilitated Mars, but it's in the 9th house. You go to the spiritual path, especially making a ritual for yourself with this new moon, Wednesday night, Thursday morning. You're going to bring in some positive things in your life, and I can see that. Greetings, Sagittarius. Welcome to your horoscope. I mean, Aries time is great for you. I always say Sagittarius does better with Aries energy than any other sign in the zodiac. Because it's like Jupiter has this way of tempering Mars. It's like how to be a good athlete. It's like don't burn yourself out, you know. Get right rest. Eat the right food. Have good practices, good relationships. Those are the things Jupiter encourages. 5th house, your children. It's where you want to move forward. So moving forward in a good way. You know, that's what this is about. And with this new moon, because it's on the cusp of the 6th house, and Sun's going to move into your 6th house Wednesday night, you know, pay attention to your health. You know, you might have allergies if you live in Sacramento Valley that come on this time of year. And so how to make the allergies less is to not eat foods that cause inflammation, generally sugar, wheat, dairy, especially if it's not grass-fed and it's pasteurized, it's yucky. Just getting yourself in a simpler, wholer diet and moving forward. You know, in the old days, people didn't really eat grains a lot in the spring because by then they were moldy. So there's a lot of things in just natural rhythm, eating with the seasons. This is what's ultimately going to help you, and we want that. We want that health, and you know, you're in overall, everything's really good. But this is where you bring service to other people. This is when you're going to be helping others. And with Mercury retrograde, it's really important to look at your health because it's going to be in your 6th house. This is serious stuff, Sagittarius. All right, greetings, Capricorn. Welcome to your horoscope. So for Capricorn, well, let's talk Saturn talk. Saturn in the 3rd house now. Now, the 3rd house is not really a house of maturity. It's a house of, it's like the adolescent house is what I call it. Adolescent house. Yeah, it's kind of symbolic of what you go through between 14 to 21. I mean, I've seen some, you know, astrologers say, okay, it's just elementary school, but I kind of tend to take the houses as symbolic of 7 years of your life in a lot of ways. And I mean, 12 times 7 is 84. That's a fairly normal life expectancy at this current paradigm that we're living in right now. I mean, some people live a lot longer, it's true. Some people don't even, most people don't even make it that far, yeah, in reality. Yeah, I mean, I saw that Marin County, most of those guys are pretty rich. Their average life expectancy is about 81 or 82. It's not that long, really. One of my astrology teachers, Stephen Forrest, said that Neptune, when Neptune opposes people's sun, it kind of dissolves people and takes them out. So I'm not sure, but I kind of think the Uranus return is pretty hard, and those who don't get it there will probably get taken out by their 3rd Saturn return. You look past that, you're doing great. third Saturn return happens around 88. Okay, so for Capricorn, Mars in the 7th house. It's like how to be a peacemaker, how to be a sweetheart, how to practice Marshall Rosenberg's nonviolent communication or compassionate communication, which means to empathize with other people even if they're mad at you. So, oh, it must feel terrible, rather than getting defensive. Do you have a need? What would help you in this situation? You know, asking those kind of questions, helpful questions. That's where we need to go. I always think it's funny when people say, well, that's a stupid question. When I grew up, I thought no question was stupid. When we're judging, when you say somebody's saying a stupid question, first of all, you're judging them. And that puts you in a really negative space. You know, stop judging, just letting things be for what they are without reacting. That's going to help you in this situation. So, Aries time rules your career life, your 10th house. That's why, I guess that's part of the reason why Mars does so well in Capricorn. But Mars is opposite Capricorn. And it's because it's really hard to confront difficulties with our loved ones, 7th house, you know, our partners. What's hurting. And so the only way we can do that is be compassionate. And it's also if you relate it personally to yourself, not like, oh, what you did offended me. No, that's them. It's like, say, I'm really concerned about things I might be doing that are causing us not to have as good a relationship with each other. There you go. You made it the vulnerability in yourself rather than someone else. You know, most of the planets down here, you know, introspective, dealing with family, dealing with siblings, dealing with parents, dealing with children. That's most of what's going on with you. And Mercury's going to go retrograde in the 5th house, so make sure you're watching your kids if you have children, and you're being honest and upfront about everything going on, because there's a lot of changes in that department, folks. Greetings, Aquarius, and welcome to your horoscope. Alright, how do we accumulate a wealth that's a good wealth? You know, with Saturn in the 2nd house. Uranus in the 4th house. Our foundations are kind of shaky right now. Aries rules our 3rd house, friendship. Taurus rules our 4th house, parents, our home life, our fixed assets. So these are the things that are going to be coming more and more into focus as we go through the week. But I think if you have difficulties with siblings, this new moon ritual, helping improve your relationships with siblings and neighbors is a really good way to go for you. And that can create a miracle. I remember when, 25 years ago, when I was buying a house and moving into a neighborhood, I said, God, what I'm asking is I have good neighbors. That's the main thing. I want the house to be sound and not falling apart, be solid, and I want good neighbors. And I pretty much got both of those because I really put it out there. So this is a time to really put out there, especially as we're going into this new moon cycle. It's an opportunity for a new ritual. This deals with siblings and neighbors and education and you working with your hands and expressing yourself creatively and taking some risks. Where do you want to go with those risks? And how would you like them to work out for the best? The other part of this is staying physically fit. And the other part is if you're like a January Aquarius, you're on this beginning of a transformation cycle. It's going to back off. Pluto's going to go back into Capricorn in June. So, it's sort of this temporary little glimpse of what's going on. Just like we had that, we get glimpses of things, but then they go retrograde again. Which means Pluto, there's more transformation, folks. Oh my God. I know. And so we'll just keep working with the energy and put out the positive in this. I mean, Venus, though, in the fifth house, you've got some creative juice right now, and that's positive. All right. Greetings, Pisces, and welcome to your horoscope. Another week where Pisces isn't forgotten. So for Pisces. Well, let's start out with the new moon. New moon's in the second house, going into the third. So what we see from second to third house is we're going from our voice into the actual way we communicate through writing, through our relationships. I do feel bad for only children because they don't get siblings to bounce off of, to learn how to communicate from, to learn how to negotiate with. And so they're naturally slightly handicapped. Now if they live in a, greater community where they have a lot of friends and cousins and they're doing a lot of sleepovers and other things, there's a negotiation process and it's not quite as bad. But they're very introspective and they're introverted and they're alone. Oh, it gets pretty gnarly out in there. I don't think they understand it because it's easy to get asphyxiated on what you're familiar with and not think there's anything else. I see that really common in the culture of the United States because it's a super big country. It has a lot of economic and cultural influence all around the world, and because of that, we think we're the only kid on the block. And it makes us a real problem in getting along with the world. It's like, oh, other nations have influenced our elections. Have we ever influenced our elections in other countries? Oh, you better believe we have. Way more than any other country has. So in a lot of ways, who's calling the kettle black? If you don't have this image of self-reflection, you will never be able to move forward in an authentic way. And so it's not all just vibing high, higher vibration and the wealth comes and all that. It's also, it's important that you don't wallow in guilt, but it's also important acknowledging the mistakes you've made, confessing your sins basically, asking for forgiveness, and from there you drop all this baggage, and that's how you rise to the top. You don't rise to the top by spiritually bypassing and pretending you've been good your whole freaking life, because you haven't, okay? You've hurt other people. You might have done it while you were drunk. You might have done it while you were asleep. You might have done it while you were sick or weak or just put down and not feeling confident enough to move out forward with your best gifts. Now is the time. Now is the time to change that. And so what I see in you is as we're moving from the second house, which is more like the familial, the family, where we got our self-image between 12 and, between 7 and 12 years old, maybe 14, to like, okay, we got to graduate and become into our adult bodies. And even though that's awkward, we sort of have to initiate ourselves into manhood, womanhood, and coming into our adult bodies, which is what happens between 14 and 21. And that's what the third house is. It's like coming into awareness. We become curious about information, what other things are going on out there in the world, because that's why the third house is curious. Sometimes the third house on the more mundane level is gossip, but the third house on the more positive level is relationship, building community. It's working with our hands. It's sharing art, storytelling. You write a book, you do a dance, you're in theater, you play a musical instrument, you're a craft person, you made a statue, an art piece. All of these things are third house important, and that's where you're moving into right now. And you do those things so well anyhow. So let your art reflect the healing with this new moon in Ashvini. Let the art reflect the healing. Let your creative process, let your relationships with people who maybe you didn't get along with your neighbor, let's try and get along. Let's meet them where they're at and their needs. And with that, we're going to create a better universe for everyone. That's the real change. And that's what I want to be a part of, and I need your encouragement to be a part of it. Thank you. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Om Tat Sat. Yeah, don't forget to subscribe, like, share, keep your comments coming. I'll be with you next week. Namaste.